Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're with comic Patrick McCartney. Patrick McCartney, how the hell are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brian?
Oh, doing good. Thank you so much for coming on. And I follow you everywhere. So you're doing, I think you're probably still just teaching even during quarantine, but I follow you online. You're the Patrick Mac at both Instagram and Twitter, and you're patmccartney.com.
That's right. I'm patmccartney.com is my website. And the Patrick Mac is my Insta and Twitter.
Yes.
And I teach for the People's Improv Theater.
Hell yeah! So a lot of people come through here, and they're all like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Striker stage at the pit," and I'm like, "Well, that's a pretty good achievement."
Yeah, the Striker stage is great. The Loft is also great. I love playing the Loft, which is the West Side location on West 29th Street. It's been a while since I played there, but I work with a group called Centralia Improv, and we do long form improv, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think I just had Chris Griggs might have mentioned that the pit might have a different location, like Philadelphia even. Is that true or no? Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Yeah, no, we have a spot in North Carolina.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's what he said, North Carolina. Yeah. So I remembered it exactly wrong.
You did. You just you remembered that there was another location. We have two theaters in New York and one in North Carolina.
And one that I just invented in Philadelphia. So maybe someday, from our lips to God's ears.
Pitt, Philly.
It's Centralia. Has that been around for a long time?
Centralia's been around for 2,000 years. Centralia
before improv itself.
Centralia is something I founded with the boys that I do it with now, Matt Higgins, Kevin Scott, and Jay Roderick, and our director Shira Piven directed us back in 2000, put us together, and then I left the group, and I was sort of gone for many years, and I came back, started teaching again. The group was still together, and I was invited back into the group, which was one of the more incredible things that's happened to me in the past 6 years.
Of course you were invited back, man. You're one of the founding members, right?
Right. Yeah, it was in the decree. It was in the Constitution. They had no choice. I like to say I was invited back, but it was a blood oath.
I leave whenever the fuck I please, and I am admitted back immediately.
Right, just like the guy from some band, the guy from Journey, right? He can come back whenever he wants. John Fogerty should go back to CCR, but that whole thing is fucked up.
Yeah, but really all we want to see is John Fogerty, so we'll let him fucking pluck some strings on YouTube, and who gives a shit about CCR right now?
Right? They're just man, that's one of the saddest stories ever. The brother won't that fight. Ay.
Dude, it's just what are they, an improv? What's all this drama for? Yeah, so tell me, like, you were a big dude, big swinging dick back in the day. You studied with Del Close, who's one of the bigger names in the history of improv.
I did. I studied with Del back in the 90s in Chicago, which was a really great time in Chicago. It was like, I'm sure it'll be written about at some point.
Yeah, if it hasn't already. Yeah, so I'm from the Chicagoland area, and so I lived there probably early 2000s, and so I mean it's a badass place, especially if you live in some of the improv meccas like maybe Lakeview or Wrigleyville.
Yeah, when I was there, Improv Olympia IO was at a place called Chow, and that's where, and then we moved to Papa Milano, which was an Italian restaurant, and then it went to Wrigleyville by the time I was gone. So I was doing like plays and improvising. I never did stand-up.
Yeah, so tell me, so I think one time I went to Improv Olympic, and it was the SNL cast that was there. A lot of SNL people come back periodically. Right. And so I think my sister got me tickets to that because she knows I like SNL. But yeah, it sounds like you got nothing but good things to say about Del Close. Like, what did Del Close do with respect to improv? Did he invent certain improv forms that are super popular, successful? Like long form versus short form?
Yeah, my experience with Dell was very positive one. He was all about long form. He did not like short form. He did not like when people tried to be funny. That was one of his big things. Even though it was filled with hugely funny people,
Yeah.
the classes were like it was back then. It was like funny people and a lot of witches and warlocks. It was just bizarre, and it
It's
was
just what, bizarre characters? You're saying like the actors themselves were just kind of bizarre?
no, well,
The witches and warlocks?
there was room for all types of people, not just people that had a career in comedy sort of objective. It was
Okay.
like he had a real fascinating mind, and what he taught me was like about commitment, how to take the scene seriously. He was always sort of expanding the possibilities of long form improv, and he had like a theater background, so he was interested. So the work I do now with Centralia Improv is parallels what I believe would be his sort of journey in improv, as far as real, true, pure, long form improvisation.
So that just means the scene is longer. Like you guys will take some words from the
That just
audience, but the scene
means
lasts all night. Like it lasts all show long.
that just means we don't leave them wanting more. We're just like
We're gonna eat all the meat off the bone, whether you enjoy watching it or not.
No, I mean the things I learned from Dell, I apply to the longer form that I do with Centralia. But the Centralia group itself, not all of them have studied with Dell. They study with Paul Sills, and they embrace other sorts of improv work.
Okay, and what are the other sorts that they bring in? Like, are they still kind of in love with the idea of committing to a scene, even if, and not being funny? Like the scene is funny, the actor doesn't have to be funny, the actor just has to commit.
Oh yeah, well, fortunately, they're all funny people, so I love watching funny people commit to scenes. I don't think with the intent of making it dramatic. If you have a funny person walk in and play a scene seriously, I think it's funny. Like it's going to be funny no matter what, especially if you find the unusual thing and heighten and explore it. I don't think like intentionally trying to be funny in improv is at all something Dell encouraged. It was the opposite of that. He believed that if you were trying to be funny, the audience could see it coming. If you're in agreement, if you're playing with somebody and you're in agreement, you're contributing to the scene, then it can lead to discovery, and that's really what makes improv funny. I mean, I've worked with some very funny people who know exactly the funniest thing to say at any given moment. But it should be a people's art form. It's not just for funny, clever people.
Wow. And so you have to find out that really unexpectedly funny thing about a situation. So like a situation that wouldn't be per se funny,
Right.
like the pandemic. Like what would be something, a funny premise would be X, a serious premise with funny stuff in it would be Y. Like, what's a pandemic related thing that is not ostensibly funny? And what's the thing that you discover about it that makes it hilarious? Putting on the spot here, of course, because you're an improv god, right?
What makes the pandemic funny? Well,
death and destruction.
There's so much that's going on right now. I mean, the fact that we all don't agree that there's a pandemic going on is kind of funny.
There you
go. Like the fact that we're all like fighting over whether or not this is real. That's what reality is, who chooses what.
Yes.
I mean, it's absurd.
Good.
But
immediately you zeroed in on something fucking funny, dude. I wasn't expecting you to go there, but exactly, you're right.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Brian. That's why they pay me the big money. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody can get something out of your improv instruction. Like when I had Chris Griggs on earlier today, like he was talking about, even stand-ups could benefit from it. So yeah, like, pitch the coaching with respect to improv for stand-ups who might be like, improv ain't for me.
Well, Griggs is great. I love Griggs. She's great. the thing about improv is it works for everybody. I mean, when I'm teaching beginning levels, especially, which I've been teaching a lot of in coronavirus, it's really like about getting out of the self and celebrating the other person. So it takes like what could be a kind of having never done stand-up, it's hard for me to comment on it. I've worked with so many stand-ups.
Yeah.
In improv, and I think it's a healthy way to sort of look at the world and how to make another person feel good. That's sort of the primary objective when you're beginning improv. And then you start to go along the lines of really listening and focusing in on certain unusual things the person might say, and how you can respond to it, whether it's emotionally or you can unpack a word a certain person said. As I teach higher levels, I start zeroing in on really active listening and how you can really grab onto the opening line of dialogue. My big thing is the opening line of dialogue. Like if I were to say to you, you're my favorite customer. A lot of improvisers will spend a lot of time going, thank you, or can I get another coffee, rather than focusing on maybe just the word favorite and what that means. Wow. I don't get that. Nobody thinks I'm the favorite. My wife doesn't even think. She's had 3 husbands, and she called her second favorite. She didn't even use the word favorite. She uses the word meh.
Yeah. I love that. And then, I mean, now, would it be an example of yes and to say, well, then who are the people who are less than favorite? Like, my wife is also a customer and she's not your favorite. Like, or is that not going with the kind of thread that you've established with your opening line of dialogue?
Well, if you were to call me the favorite customer, I'd probably what I'd want to do is, and I wanted to grab onto favorite, I would embrace it, let it affect me emotionally, probably shout it out to the rest of the restaurant, maybe call my wife and tell her I'm the favorite.
I love that you can also react to things emotionally. That's cool. Like, so yeah, it never occurred to me that you could react to things emotionally. What are the other things? Like, I would think that you'd answer a line with dialogue, but you're like, you can also react to it emotionally. That just opens up some doors. Like, what are some other categories of reactions?
You could respond with despair.
Yeah.
You'd say, oh, God.
But so beyond emotionally though.
You could respond with fear. Oh, beyond emotionally. Well, of course, you could say you say that to all the customers.
Yeah.
You're trying to manipulate me into giving you a bigger tip. You can respond. I suppose that's paranoia. Or you could just do the thing that most people do, which is like, thank you, can I have another coffee? And then we sort of set up we sort of take our time to find the scene rather than allowing the first line of dialogue to be the scene.
Yeah, so how do you decide whether or not you should kind of keep chopping it up to figure out a better direction? Like, so if the opening dialogue is not that promising to the other person in the scene, like the two-prov, the other person in the two-prov or something, right. Like, they're like, well, let's just kind of explore. Let's have another cup of coffee and maybe chop it up about other customers that you've had in the past.
I'm not sure what the question is, but if I were to, I mean, the scene is constantly discovering itself. So if I were to heighten and explore the word favorite, we may be edited. We may have a longer period of time, and then I may confess to the waiter how I feel about them, which may or may not be my favorite.
Yeah.
And then the status may change, and the waiter may get angry. The waiter may say, you know what? I'm not your favorite waiter. May go in, maybe the second beat, he's confronting my favorite waiter. I don't know. The thing is, I'm constantly in discovery and allowing it to go wherever it's going to go.
And I think I worry because, like, the look on my face, though, like even if I got all these great ideas like you got, and I'm not saying I would because I probably would not, but I feared during that point of me thinking of these things that I look like a fucking dumbass. I look like I'm stuck in neutral when I'm trying to think through this stuff. Like, is there anything you could do with your face to kind of cloak the calculus that's going on in your brain? Because you just had wonderful ideas, but if I feel self-conscious while I'm thinking of those ideas, I'm just going to not show the confidence that I probably, or the commitment that I probably need to show to get laughs.
Well, the main thing is to actively listen and focus on your scene partner. So that's the trick, right? I want to get the laugh. I want to get the laugh. So you want to stay in the scene with your scene partner. You want to focus on them and the group around you, rather than start wondering where my laugh is. And that was, ultimately what I learned when I worked with Sharna, Noah, and Dell at IO. It's like, I'm not here to we are doing comic improv, but if I'm focusing in on where the laughs are, then I'm not really in the scene with the other person. And if I trust that the scene is building and it's organic and it's pure, and when I'm taking care of the other person may not, I could see nervousness maybe in the other person. So I may adjust my tactic. I want to do whatever I can to get that person in play with me. So it doesn't mean I don't want to write the scene. I don't want to think ahead of time. I want to grab onto something and be in play so I'm out of my head rather than be stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So the key is, how do I get out of the self? And I get out of the self by focusing on the other person, by actively listening. Once I'm in writer's head, it's done. Like, I'm done.
And also by focusing on your scene partner, the audience is also still focused on them too, right? They're not focusing on what your face might look like while you're thinking.
Yeah, we are watching as you are in play. We're watching. We're not hoping for we're watching two people live on a stage. That's why it's a theatrical form. That's why it's beyond just two people talking and being clever. We're watching behavior. We're watching people live in their imaginary environment. We're watching people listen with their whole body. We're watching theater.
And can you even take a beat, like, if you guys are supposed to be in a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever, like, can you give yourself a second? Like, you see things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That would help. That helps.
I love that when improvisers take a second. It feels like an hour.
Yeah, I know.
Most improvisers. I love silence. I'm like, go ahead, take silence. It won't last longer than 10 seconds. If you can get improvisers to be silent for 10 seconds. I've learned to love the awkward pause. I just love it. Can we curse on this?
Oh, please do. You fucking love it, dude.
I fucking relish it. I'm just like, fucking bring it on. No. Do not say anything. Let us sit in this fucking awkwardness.
Because there's silence in life. If you have an interaction with a barista, there's probably going to be silence there while you guys are searching for things to say. But meanwhile, she's making a drink. You're looking at your phone, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, silent scenes are wonderful. So few people do them. Everybody feels the urgency. They want to run out and they want to speak. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And to watch two people just be in trust, or a group be in trust and take their time, is just a remarkable thing to see. And that's really what advanced long-form improvisation, for me, is all about.
Yeah, and I think that's probably some problem that I have when you're part of an improv class, and I have been, and I didn't go back because I hated it. But also, if you're seeing like improv at a certain level, it comes off like, here's a bunch of theater kids who are enjoying pretending too much. And it's probably those people who just keep wanting to speak and fill the silence with their own chit chat. But if I have a lot of silence, you're building up tension. And I think Norm Macdonald was like, I never have people in the audience like clap or whatever, because I want that tension there. I want the air. I don't want to let the air out of the balloon. I want the balloon to be big so that when I pop it with my punchline, it'll be that much bigger.
Yeah.
Like, does tension play a role in kind of keeping that silence? Because I would trust. And I would hate improv less if it resembled real life, and it resembles real life if there's actually occasional silences there or beats here and there.
Heck yes. Take silence. Do it. Whatever you have to do. You have to trust that the person you're working with is going to, be comfortable in the silence as well, which is very rare. But if you work with a group for a long time,
yeah, that's the problem. At a certain level, it's rare, right? And so I guess my question here is like,
the beginning, it's super rare. It's super rare in the beginning.
And I hate that. So like, how are you making students love improv if there's occasionally a shitty improv partner who doesn't embrace the silence and just talks a lot like a theater kid? Like, do you step in and say, okay, you see what this person did here? do you see what this person did here?
Wait, I want to talk about what is a theater kid in your mind. What's a theater kid?
I think for me, seeing improv people at a certain level, I think might be slightly annoying if they seem like theater kids who are a little too eager to pretend. And so meaning like, and I think that probably comes with, oh no, I can't let a silence go. I have to talk. And then the scene comes off as unreal because they're all just these people with this, they're two type A people who are never silent. They're never awkward. And I'm like, that's not real. You guys are just theater kids who enjoy being on stage and having an audience of people watch you.
Theater kids. I don't know. I get all types of people in my classes. Some are theater kids. Some are, for me, that means they just they only know stuff about theater. Some are like human beings that have been through a lot. Some are just nervous. They want more confidence. And it's really just about embracing the group. So if I have a group full of theater kids, I want them to work with other people. I think improv gotten a lot of, I think improv, from the time I left to the time I came back, it became very almost a little elitist in that it became competitive, and it shouldn't be competitive. It's an art form for the people, and everybody should be able to make each other look good. That's the primary principle behind good improvisation.
Yeah.
And funny people do it, not funny people. I'm at a certain point right now where I love to work with people that make me laugh. Yeah. And that's pretty much the only people I work with. But who makes me laugh might not make you laugh. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I even saw some bizarre laughs. Amy Poehler was there. I was like, why is she laughing right now? She was an improv Olympic. I had no idea why she was laughing when she was laughing, but it's just she was seeing things about the improv scene that I was not seeing, and she was giving credit to her scene partner or whatever and being like, oh, I see what you did there. That was interesting. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but, if you and I are in a scene together, my objective is more to make you laugh than it is to make the audience laugh. I want to have fun with you on the stage. I don't really care about the audience. I just don't.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. So you teach this, and so how does somebody get in touch with Patrick McCartney through do they do it through the Patrick Mac? Do they get individualized lessons now that the pit? I imagine the pit is not open, unlimited right now. Are you guys doing this remotely?
I'm teaching through the pit. I have a level 2 going on right now. I have a sober prov class starting on 9/5, which is for people like myself who are in recovery, and it's just sort of fun improv games. And then I teach an acting class, which is a fun acting class for non-theater kids, Brian. Or some theater kids. It's fun because you take the idea of all right, here, this is a person that only has been to, whatever, drama college, which is, by the way, a waste of money. And another person who's only been this thing, and you have to do that thing where you make each other look good and listen and respect each other. As soon as I see any behavior that's competitive or snobby, I just destroy it.
Good.
Just destroy it because I fucking hate it.
Because that's what I want to see. I want to see that my experience isn't shitty now because improv sucks. It's my experience in this class is being shitty right now because my scene partner is doing something wrong. And that's so to have Patrick McCartney jump in and be like, no, here's what you did wrong. Don't do it again. Because I'm like, okay, well, improv is fine. It's just my scene partner was being selfish there.
Yeah, I want your scene partner to be, making you feel good. And the thing is, you should be working in the class with the one person you don't want to do a scene with, and the one person that scares the crap out of you. That should be your objective when you enter a class. One of your objectives. You can find me at my website, patmccartney.com. You can hire me privately there. Otherwise, you can hire me through the Pit. I have 3 classes that just went up. Level 3 class, level 3 improv, sober prov, and my acting class. I'm also teaching a solo show class, which is going really well, and I'm hoping to start that again end of September, middle of September. It's called How to Solo Show, and you can also hire me privately through the Pit. You just go to thepit.com. And you can find that, or www.patmccartney.com.
And so they're going to learn about Sinister Kid, right? We didn't have time to talk about it, but that's the solo show you had that you're turning into a script. Will we learn anything about the Sinister Kid updates on the Patrick Mac at social?
You will, for sure, as I develop it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, dude, I've learned so much. Theater kids, that's the one takeaway today.
Theater kids!
Patrick McCartney, thank you so much.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me.